Time for the Summer League episode. 2-0, baby. Combined 60-point margin of victory, 30 points a pop. We're playing for the de facto California Classic Championship tonight. We discuss all of it and this.
That one I did hit you over the face with a sledgehammer, and you didn't see it coming because my camera is frozen.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your pods, and that includes YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can make every moment more as playoffs wind down. They're over in the NBA. Sports stop sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. You know, the playoffs aren't really over in the California Classic. I mean, yeah, I guess technically it's not a tournament that ends with a champion. But if you end your session with an undefeated record, what am I supposed to do? What do you want me to do? It's a championship. It's the de facto championship, Doug Branson from everyhornetsboxscore.com. And that's how I will see it if they win tonight against the Sacramento Kings.
That's fine, and I think you should see it that way. I think we have to take every little victory we can get, and we can celebrate it internally. We don't have to make a huge splash about it to everyone else. We can just have our little sicko parade inside of our sicko brigade. But more importantly, I have to do something that I don't do very often on this show as we open up, and that is I have to issue an apology. For yesterday's show. It was a difficult show. It was a difficult day, and the emotions got the best of me. And I would like to apologize because I forgot that summer is for feelings and preseason is for reason. Okay, yeah. I'm sorry. I forgot the saying that I came up with that everyone loves, and I forgot the back half of it. Summer is for feelings, preseason is for reason. Like I said, a lot of things going on in my head yesterday. I apologize, but now I've rectified it. So move on, everyone. Move on. Yeah,
that was tough. I walked away a little frustrated, confused. Why did you forget? I'm glad you addressed it. I was too cowardice to bring it up to you in the moment.
Thank you.
I'm glad that you brought it up here in today's episode. I'm Walker Mail, by the way. You can listen to me on WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3. So I'm watching Summer League last night, looking at all the clips, oh man, this guy's going to be a problem clip. And then there's like a 45-second little montage of these rookies that are performing in Summer League. And I see some guys that we watched in college basketball last year. We get to see Jared McCain yesterday. Doesn't hit a three, but still looks really good. Goes for, I think, 15 points. Jared McCain, one of the guys that demanded your attention. How about Zach Edey? Going number 9. A little bit higher than people thought, but was a 2-time college player of the year at Purdue. And
not higher than I thought, by the way. I thought he was going to go that high. That didn't surprise me at all.
Well, okay.
You know, when you say Jared McCain, I always think of Edwin McCain. Like it never fails. Artist. Well, I don't know how many people. Yeah. It's one hit wonder. Edwin McCain.
I mean, if there's another one, I don't know what it is. I know I'll be. So a little bit higher than what everybody expected, except for Doug. Zach Edey going number 9 looked really good. Hit the bucket to go to overtime in yesterday's game. Yeah, impressive stuff from him. You have some of these guys, Dalton Connect. I know you said he's looked good with the Lakers. You have some players that have college ties or that were just drafted, a little bit later than Salon in the teens, right inside the top 10. They're looking pretty damn good, Doug. We don't have Tidjane Salaun out there on the court right now. Got injured, okay. We hope to see him. We know that he's supposed to play in Summer League at some point. KJ Simpson won't, but Salon is supposed to at some point. My question is, how patient is the fan base really going to be if we see some of these guys continue this, right? If we see the first-round picks not only impress in Summer League, but also put up impressive performances throughout year one. Maybe they go a little Jaime Jaquez, where Jaime is a really good player. Didn't expect him to be as big of a contributor immediately. isn't an all-star, isn't really taking Brandon Miller's spot away from, best Eastern Conference rookie, right? But like Jaime Jaquez is really solid all year long. Are we going to see that from some of these older college players, or even just some of the players that were selected after Salaün? While we have to wait, Salaün sitting on the bench, Charles Lee looking to get this team competitive. Simple question. How patient do you think this fan base is going to be with Salaün? And how patient do they need to be?
Well, simple question and simple answer. Edwin McCain also wrote, I could not ask for more. So he had 2 hits. I could not ask for more than this love you gave me.
It was a hit? Okay.
Oh, well, that's a hit. People know that song. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know where it charted, but people know that song.
A little before my time.
Well, Edwin McCain generally, yeah. I don't know how many people watching this show are even going to know that name. The answer to your other question is that I think that people are going to be as patient with this team as the team is winning. So if the team is performing well, if everyone stays healthy, I think people will understand that you re-signed Miles Bridges and you added Josh Green. Those are 2 pieces that seem to easily slot as starting players, and that that at best Salaün is going to have a bench role. Now, the question will be, how significant is that bench role? I think because of some of the defensive issues that he's going to have early on, you're going to have to really slot him at 4. I think he projects as a guy that's going to be defensively versatile, but I don't know, and we got to see. I mean, we got to see what he comes up with here in Vegas. But I have a feeling that you're going to have to hide this guy a little bit on defense, and so I think there will be specific bench lineups that are going to be available to him. But I think that Charles Lee is a player development coach. Like that's one of his specialties. It's one of the things that he did in Milwaukee and in Boston. And he's hired a lot of player development coaches to his staff. But I don't think that you should mistake that for this guy's going to like play rookies huge minutes and so on down the line. I think everything they've been talking about is hard work and commitment. And I think you can add something to that of like earning minutes. I mean, I think that they kept on Steve Clifford, and I think that's going to be one of the things that carries over from the Clifford regime, is that I think that minutes are going to be earned on this team, and that goes for Salaün and Simpson and anyone else on this squad. And you got a guy in Lee that's going to, I think, reevaluate everything. So it's not just Salaün. It's going to be Cody Martin and Nick Smith Jr. and some of these other reserve pieces as well. Grant Williams. Everybody's going to have to come in training camp, and they're going to figure out the best way to put a winning basketball team on the floor.
Yeah, right. How much does that include Salaün on the court this year? Because if you look at 6th overall selections, they play because you're right outside the top 5. I mean, you're well within the lottery. So it's not like, okay, yeah, they were top 10, but they were a little bit further down, or they were in the lottery, but they were a little bit further down. I mean, you're the 6th overall selection. And so I was looking at some of the other past picks at that spot. They all play, Doug. They all play year one. They all get minutes. And I just don't see that happening a ton for Salaün.
Why?
If we're going with if we're going with all of the healthy cases of guys that were drafted 6 that were available to be on the court, they got enough time to try to figure out what they could do their rookie season. And a lot of times, the teams that are picking 6th are really bad, and so they get their shot. Salaün just doesn't seem like that kind of guy to me, especially right now in what we would consider a weak draft. A crazy raw prospect, still a surprise, right? But Salaün going at 6, I think most people would have had him projected. It came out after the fact that the Spurs were interested at 8, but they also had 2 picks to play with, and so it makes sense. Let's get the guy that we feel better about in Castle, and then let's take the shot at number 8. So you would expect maybe, I don't know, I thought it could have been outside the top 10. All these things are working against Salaün playing meaningful minutes for me. So then when I suggest, guys, look, I'm just saying get ready for some Greensboro and a lot of it, a lot of swarm time, I'm getting pushback on the world-famous WFNZ text line. Well, this guy was drafted right outside the top 5. Are you kidding me? If he plays anytime in Greensboro, I'm pissed. I'm like, okay, well, that's what you're going to be. That's what it feels like to me anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, he was drafted right outside the top 5, but I think well above where he was projected to be drafted at. I mean, it was a weak draft. Guys were all over the place, but I think Salaün, it was a It was a flyer. I'm not going to call it a reach because I think a reach has negative connotations. You do a reach when there are solid guys that make sense for the pick, and you go way outside that. That wasn't what happened in the draft. They took a flyer on a guy in Salon at 6, but when you take a flyer, there are realities that come with that in terms of his readiness to be on a floor, and it doesn't. Just like I don't think it would have benefited Mark Williams early on to play and get beasted and have his confidence shook. He had to go to Greensboro and build that confidence, and then he came in later in the season and he balled out. So, I mean, I think the same thing could happen with Salaün. There was a guy that I compared him to before the draft, and then I heard Kristen Peak from Yahoo on with you on WFNZ make the same comparison, which is Bilal Coulibaly, who was taken around that area in last year's draft by the Washington Wizards. And Coulibaly, I thought, okay, this guy's going to go to the G League for a while. He's not ready to go. He rode the coattails of Wembanyama, his buddy, and good for him, but he's going to take some time to season. And he came in for Washington, a bad basketball team, but he looked like he belonged on the floor, even on a bad basketball team. My thing is, I don't think the Hornets are going to be that Washington Wizards level of bad big if, they stay healthy. And if that's the case, then Salaun's going to have to take some time.
No, and I get the late riser stuff, and there's some rawness there with Coulibaly. I would still say, by actually a considerable margin, he was more polished coming in last year than what Salaün is. Like, I really do think we're talking about a really young prospect who has a long, long way to go, and that's why you make the selection. You're playing the long game here, where there might be some solid guys, as you put it, and maybe some people could describe it as a reach, and they might be right if this thing doesn't work out later. But you have some guys that are playing well right now in Summer League that I think are going to be pretty good in year one, but we're trying to figure out if Salaün is going to be the right prospect 3 years from now, not 5 months from now. That's what we're trying to figure out, and I think that's what you have to keep in perspective when you see these other rookies playing better than what Salaün is doing with the big leagues.
Oh, totally. And look, he's going to get a shot. I mean, we're talking about a Hornets team that's not like crazy deep. I mean, this is not an automatic playoff qualifying Charlotte Hornets roster.
Especially at that position too. You know, if it was another guard, maybe you can make that case, but at power forward, you're right. Grant, Miles playing some 4. Yeah, that's really. And
we don't know. They may add something there. I think there's still some shuffling to be done between now and training camp. But still, I think he's going to get a fair shot both in Summer League, training camp, and preseason to show exactly who he is. And I'm just of the belief, and particularly if you trust Coach Lee, and I think a lot of people trust Coach Lee right now, if you trust him, you have to trust in the idea that he is going to show who he is and how ready he is, and everyone on that staff is going to know it, and they're going to play him accordingly. Player development is just as much about putting a player in a position to succeed as it is about giving him raw minutes.
We'll see if people can be patient because, it might be a little while.
Well, here's what I would say to folks about being patient. I think you just have to enjoy the time that you have with Salaün, whatever that time is. And in fact, I'll say you could not ask for more than this time together with Tidjane Salaun. You could not ask for more than this time with him. And listen, every prayer has been answered. Coach Lee is the real deal. Every dream has come true.
Mm-hmm. And look, maybe he is the strand in your eyes that color them wonderful. If that's the case, then welcome to Charlotte. We'll love it. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Sleep on the Hornets just yet.
NSJ, somebody that was a draft pick we all loved in the late first round last year.
Well,
how's he been looking in Summer League? We'll start to go player to player in their Summer League sessions to the first 2 games. Coming up next, LOH. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Comparison is the thief of joy, and it's easy to envy other people's lives. It might look like they have it all together on their Instagram or social media platform, whatever it may be, but in reality, they probably don't. Therapy can help you focus on what you want instead of what others have so you can start living your best life. If you're thinking of starting therapy, then give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. And all you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and then switch therapists anytime for no additional charge if you feel the need to do so. Stop comparing and start focusing with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Doug, before we get to Nick Smith Jr., I think he is probably the most exciting player in Summer League this year. People are ready to see him outside of Salon, the rookie. I'm going to ask you a simple question again, 2 simple questions to lead off each segment. This simple question, do you think Bryce McGowens had a good game against Team China? Do you think he played well?
I think he got to the rim. I mean, I think that, yeah, it's difficult against Team China because it was pretty clear from the jump that Team China was unprepared for that game. And I think the transition from international game to this like summer league weird environment has been difficult for them. And so they were like they were too physical on defense, Team China, and the Hornets recognized it early and were like, all right, we're going to attack these dudes. We're faster, and we're going to make them foul us 1,000 times. And Bryce took advantage of that. But that's not like indicative of his, previous experience that we've seen from him in the NBA. So like, I don't, it's a tough thing to judge. I mean, I think by the tone that you asked that question, I think I know your answer.
Oh, no. I think I'd phrase it as a simple question. I don't know if it's a simple answer because Bryce, comes in, he scores 20 points. Okay. You look at that alone and go 4 of 8 from the field. You shoot 14 free throw attempts and you make 12 of them. That stat line would suggest all day long, 10 out of 10, good game, straight up, maybe even fantastic game. And then you look at the other ways that Bryce might be able to help the team. There's not a lot there. 3 assists, I guess that's not terrible. Like 3 assists isn't bad. 2 rebounds. There's 1 steal, only 1 turnover, a couple of fouls. He was a plus 20 if you care about that sort of thing. I just think he's so good at that one skill, getting to the foul line. And that was true at Nebraska. That's been true even in the first couple of years in the league with him, going through a whole bunch of different roles. And I know we're talking about a guy that's not even on the team right now, so I apologize. I just, for me, this is the reason, right? You might think, wait, why are they waiving this person when he showed some flashes? He even started some games when Steve Clifford was desperate, but he still went to Bryce McGowens. Like, you could have gone to somebody else if you wanted to. He has a legitimate skill that can help you see the court, getting to the foul line. But he just goes to the rack constantly, which we also like, but that's it. Like, that's what you got. You got Bryce McGowens going to the rim every single possession. And if he doesn't get fouled, then he's going to miss it. And then you're probably, going to
the reason I don't even say this in like a mean way. Like, the reason he got waived is that you're right. He would go to the rack a lot and he would miss it more than if he was the kind of guy that could go to the rack a ton and get 10 free throws, every other game, then there's probably a place for him on this roster or some other roster. But that wasn't the experience. We weren't getting that. And you couple that with the fact that, he's not a very good playmaker. He's not. Yeah. He's not like a stellar defender there. I mean, so it's just it. I mean, he's a 2nd round pick that the Hornets, traded up. They thought there was something there. And, I don't think it cost them a lot. And Bryce, gets to continue to develop in this summer league. And maybe he lands in a place where he meets another coach and figures something out. You never know.
Well worthwhile experiment, by the way. Totally well worthwhile. So totally fine. All right, NSJ, go. What are you thinking about him?
I think that the thing that jumped out immediately was his activity level on the defensive end. He was everywhere, and we got a little bit of a preview of that in that video that they released of the practice before the first Summer League game where Charles Lee was really in NSJ's shirt, telling him, hey, we got to get more from you defensively. And I think he's responded to that call. So that's good. I think I've seen some better passing from him. That was one thing that I was looking for because really, like, Xavier Simpson is the point guard, I guess, for this team, without KJ Simpson. But really, they've been running a majority of the offense through NSJ first. And I think generally he's done good, although there were some, pick and roll plays where, like, he throws it down to a cutting Simpson who had no business throwing it down to, and Simpson has to he was too far into the basket, had to fire it back. There's just plays where you go, man, what's going on there? But the big concern, I think, is you look at the shooting numbers, right? Because NSJ, a lot like Malik Monk, if he's not going to shoot well, and he did last season in limited minutes, if he's not going to shoot well, I'm not sure what the justification is for him being out there. And in both of these summer league games, I think he was sub 40% in both of these. But yeah, it hasn't been good.
Well, and so, yeah, you bring up Malik Monk. We obviously have had different experiences with Malik. You do this all the time. You do it. You just
I wasn't, well, hold on now. I didn't punch with that. Sometimes sometimes I'm guilty of taking Malik Monk like a sledgehammer and trying to knock you in the face with it.
That's right. And then I
just sort of dropped that in there.
I gotta call it out every 5 times. We can get through the first 4. By the 5th time, I gotta call it out. I do think, unlike Malik, though, where I will disagree, defensively he wasn't good, but I said it then. I think Malik was a very, very good playmaker, even here in Charlotte, and only got better and more opportunity, and we've seen that in Sacramento, and that's what allows him to make $20 million.
I don't disagree with that.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Nick Smith Jr. is not that.
No, right? Probably the opposite.
Yeah. So even if Malik isn't hitting shots, I still felt like Malik was helping in other ways offensively, even if you were giving up something defensively. With Nick Smith Jr., he's not helping a lot in that. Now, what I will say, you can tell he's working on it, though, right? I actually think he's breaking guys down off the dribble. He's beating his man. We see passes that might be just a tick too late, but they're there. I'm honestly encouraged, right? Because we know that the shooting numbers, they're hot and cold, make or miss league, all that. 2 games, I'm not tripping off of a 2-game sample size. Sure, you would love to see the efficiency a little bit better. But, Doug, if we're just paying attention to what it looks like he worked on and what he's getting better at, I see the improvement. I see the improvement in areas you want to see improvement. I see improvement in playmaking. I see the steps being taken. I see defensively the steps being taken. And another play I want to talk about, there was a play, I think, midway through the second quarter. I thought at the point of attack, right there at the 3-point line, Nick was kind of upright in a defensive stance, didn't get low. He gets blown by, and it puts pressure on the defense. There might have even been a foul, if I'm not mistaken. Nick Smith Jr. gets brought out at that moment. And I was paying attention to what the combo might be between NSJ and Charles Lee. And Charles Lee's talking to him, and then Nick Smith Jr. kind of looks back or at the sideline, and he throws his palms in the air. And doing it wasn't anything crazy. It's not like these guys had beef, but there was a teaching moment there. That goes to your point of Charles Lee. It looked like there was teaching from Lee where he wasn't berating him. It was just, hey, you got to get in a stance. You have to make sure you move your feet with this guy or you put pressure on the rest of the defense. And he was taken out when he didn't do it, despite, I agree with you, being active in other areas defensively. So I'm pleased with the improvement that I've seen from him.
I am, although again, if you wanted some justification for NSJ to crack a fully healthy Hornets rotation, we haven't gotten it yet. Again, yeah. It's not just that he wasn't efficient; it's that he shot. So it was 23.6% on 10+ attempts in the first game, and on 10+. I mean, he's the featured player offensively for this squad, and in the second game. 30%, 1 of 6 from 3. So that shooting has to come through. He has to continue to improve defensively and become, again, someone that allows you to remain functional as a passer. I don't think he's going to be a playmaker. I think you've got to have someone that is going to make the right decision, 7 times out of 10. Yeah. And so that's what we're looking for. But I would say, right now, I just don't even get it. Where does he play over Trey Mann if they keep Meach?
Oh, he doesn't.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. We haven't seen, if that's what you're coming to this podcast for, is us to say, well, yeah, NSJ is he's going to make this rotation. He's going to be an impact player next season. From what I've seen so far, I'm not buying that.
But this is where the patience comes in, right? I mean, we're 2 games into his second year in the league, and there might be people that, all right, Nick Smith Jr. time, baby.
Well, listen, we're on. This is what people don't understand, and I don't know that me saying. Well, first of all, no one listened. I think if you look at some of the comments from the last episode, I think it's pretty clear that people come to this show every day. They come to this show. They watch faithfully, and yet they don't hear a word.
Oh my God! There was somebody that said that I liked the Gordon Hayward contract.
You were famously not in love with that.
I got killed for hating the Gordon Hayward contract.
I killed you. I probably killed you on this show.
You probably did. Yeah. Anyways, go on.
So I don't think anyone's going to listen to this either, but we do a show every day. And so I say that thing about Nick Smith Jr. now, but that's this whole process is like evaluating them, and he may crush it the rest of Vegas, and he may come into training camp and crush it in training camp, and then all of a sudden, we get to preseason games 1 and 2, and he's getting more minutes than Trey Mann. That process will play itself out, and then we'll talk about it then. There's no reason, whether it's Salon or NSJ or any of these young players on a young team, there's no reason to put them in a grave early. We just say, this is what we're seeing right now, and if it doesn't change, then, get the shovels out.
That's it. All right. Let's go. I have some more thoughts here coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Sleep on the Hornets just yet.
Let's go through some more player evals, and I do have some finishing thoughts on Nick Smith Jr. That's still to come last segment. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and look, we all love sports. I love them so much, I never really want them to stop. But as the playoffs are over, we get fewer games, and the sports aren't sporting like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want, because all I have to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone every single day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Yeah, a little bit of a weird situation. We come back, and I was talking for a while, and Doug had that look on YouTube the entire time. And it actually, if you don't know, if you're not watching on YouTube, his camera is frozen in a way where it still looks live, and that Doug is just in deep thought about what I'm saying. It looks like he's listening, which is a little bit different. It runs contrary to what is usually happening. But I think we're just going to roll with this camera frozen shot instead of trying to fix it, Doug.
Well, it's really the only choice we have at this moment. So just to take people behind the scenes, I use my phone as my camera when I'm recording from home, which I am today. But unfortunately, my phone has died, and it died because, get ready for it, folks. Say it with me. I have a baby, and that baby was up all night, and so I had my phone, and I didn't plug it in, and here we are. And so, yes, I will be doing the remainder of this show. I'm glad that I will say this, very fortunate that it froze on what I would say is a sexy face.
It is, honestly. I really, the hair is hairing right now.
Yeah, the lips are lipping, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, sometimes when you sort of look down or look up, your chin can kind of look weird. So no, I think everything is right where it should be, except for the fact that my shot is not moving around anymore.
I will not be able to see your visual cues. It honestly might be less distracting here, so I can finish some thoughts without having to say, go ahead, Doug, or something like that. So maybe this is just how we roll the whole time. I'll say one more thing about NSJ. Okay. He's improving. We know this. Where we would get in trouble with some of the other draft picks or the other projects is it would be Kai Jones not improving in Summer League year 2, regular season year 2, Summer League year 3. It would be James Bouknight not improving Summer League year 2, regular season year 2, Summer League year 3. And then so when you don't see a lot of the improvement there, that's when you start to worry. Where Nick Smith Jr. is coming in, no, not hitting shots, but I see the steps, right? We can see what's going on. And so that's helping me out a little bit more. I see you're in deep thought about it. Did you care to respond?
Well, what I'm thinking about is if NSJ had to do it over again, the whole draft process, do you think he would have tried to pull a James Najee or an Alex Sarr and just, put some feelers out there like, hey, I might not be super interested in joining the Charlotte Hornets? Because I do feel bad for him. He's buried in this guard rotation right now. He could be getting minutes and burn with another team. that he may not get with Charlotte.
Yeah, he could be. And maybe he does this year. Who knows? Maybe he would pull a James Najee. Why'd you do it to me, man? I've moved on. I moved on.
Okay, that
to
one,
Drew.
okay, you're right. That one I did hit you over the face with a sledgehammer, and you didn't see it coming because my camera is frozen.
No, you still look in deep thought. I didn't realize that you were thinking about a James Najee joke. Let's go rapid fire. Ghee! What do you think about Ghee for the Summer League team going for 20 in the first game and then, of course, being injured in the second game?
I think it was hilarious listening to the fear in the voices of the Summer League announcers as they tried to figure out how this guy's name was pronounced. And the guy over the PA was saying Gay, and they were saying Ghee, and they switched from Ghee to Gay like a couple of times during the broadcast. And I think somebody got in their ear and finally said this guy's name is Mohamed Ghee. So they got that figured out. I think he's been great, man. Total surprise for me. I was watching for Jake Stevens because I knew that guy could shoot. And, so I was kind of paying attention to him. And this Ghee guy starts, and I'm like, what's going on there? And he's just been great. So he spent some time in the Raptors organization. So listen, anytime the Hornets can go and get one of these guys that the Raptors always draft, long arms, a little bit skinny, but seems like he can move around well. Defensively, he was blocking shots. He was everywhere. Activity, snatching offensive rebounds out of nowhere. I think it's pretty clear why he started because he was just giving max effort the whole time. Seems like he can shoot it. Obviously, I think the size in terms of his weight is probably what has held him back a little bit. But, hopefully the ankle injury that he suffered in Game 2 is not serious. He did have to miss the remainder of that game. I hope we see him again for this championship game tonight.
He has been, even defensively, before he got hurt against Team China. I mean, he only played 6 minutes, so it wasn't much, but he had a block. He looked like he was defensively engaged. I mean, he didn't take a shot here, but really liked what we got from him. Any other thoughts on players that we hadn't addressed yet?
So the Hornets in Game 2 could not hit a three-point shot. It wasn't just NSJ. And I just did something to the camera shot there. There we go. Oh, man, boy. The tech on this show is failing us at the last moment. Yes,
terrible.
I think that Jake Stevens was one of the few players in Game 2 that was actually able to hit a three-point shot, so that was refreshing to see. It's great. They've finally gone and gotten some guys that can audition for that third big that can shoot. What a concept. Centers that can shoot. This is going to revolutionize the Hornets. Oh, dare I say, it will revolutionize the NBA.
I'm a little disappointed, though, because he's taking time away from Drew Pember, who comes in and goes 0 of 3 from three-point range. But he did have a sweet dunk. He did have 4 rebounds, mind you. I just want to make that clear. I'm hoping Drew Pember can do something else here.
Charles Lee is full court trapping in Summer League. That's an observation. I just read that in my notes. I had to just scream that. Charles Lee has installed full court trap, things into Summer League. I literally, and the broadcasters mentioned this too, like, how in the world did Charles Lee get this team to play so together? Because if you look at that game, they couldn't shoot a 3 in that game against China, and yet they scored 90-plus points. A lot of that was the Chinese national team not really being ready for prime time here, but a lot of that was them sharing the basketball, moving the basketball. I think it's a combination of Lee doing a good job with the time that he was allotted to get these guys ready. It's also finding the right kind of players who are ready to share the basketball and do the things that are necessary to help a team function well. And so it's just been so wonderful to see. This is really I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop a little bit. I've got that sort of in the back of my head, but I'm trying to scare that away. I'm trying to say, you know what? No. Let's enjoy what we've got right now.
Okay, well, the real sickos are going to have to be out in full force tonight. 10 p.m. tip for the Kings-Hornets game. It'll be on NBA TV and ESPN+. If you are a sicko, then you just might find yourself staying up for a Hornets Summer League game at 10 p.m. It's going to be a late one.
It is a good time to be in Central Time. I'll tell you that much.
That's right. So we'll be here to recap it for you tomorrow. Doug, if you have any other points, just raise your hand and I'll get right to you if there's any other points that you have.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm right there.
Nope.
I'm
No other points? All right, that's the end of the show. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your podcast, and that includes YouTube, where Doug is looking at you right
I'm raising
in the eye,
something right now. You can't see it, but I'm raising something right now. Your way.
That's Doug Branson winning the staring contest with you. You can find him on his Substack, everyhornetsboxscore.com. I'm Walker Mail. Listen to me, WFNZ, every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. Have a great rest of your day. We'll be back with you tomorrow to recap the de facto California Classic Championship.